This episode is brought to you by Crow's Craft Brewing Company. Crow's Craft, the nonconformist. Consumption of alcoholic beverage impairs your ability to drive a car or operate machinery and may cause detrimental health problems. Drink responsibly.
Yo.
Yeah, you've been doing this a lot. I can see the whole, it's all well lit.
I got the ring light, man. I got the 4K webcam, right? I already know how to set up my drinks, right? I got my Jack Daniel's rye. I got my Rittenhouse rye because it's rye month. Then a little extra bourbon,
Oh, wow.
And on the sides, if I get saucy, I have rums. So
Dude, I got my cheap shit lights from Lazada as well. Hey, Frank, how you doing, buddy? Nice.
Yo.
Yeah, you've been doing this a lot. I can see the whole, it's all well lit.
I got the ring light, man. I got the 4K webcam, right? I already know how to set up my drinks, right? I got my Jack Daniel's rye. I got my Rittenhouse rye because it's rye month. Then a little extra bourbon,
Oh, wow.
And on the sides, if I get saucy, I have rums. So
Dude, I got my cheap shit lights from Lazada as well. We gotta do what we have to do, right?
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
So this is gonna be fun, man. This is just gonna be really casual.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen any of our episodes, but we were just, it's a lot of people think it's all got to do with alcohol, but not really. Like our last episode, which was just launched. We just posted it a few minutes ago, was on coffee. Then we had another person who was an entrepreneur. Then we had a mixologist. It's all different, right? The whole idea here is that, for people to learn more and be entertained while you're at it, right? A lot of people don't want to ask the stupid questions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because they're surrounded by too many gurus that they're just, itching to find out. So I guess that's my job, right? To ask the crazy, stupid questions.
Yeah, of course.
So, we have to because there are people out there. You gotta do 101, right? Before you can go to the advanced, you've got to baby steps, learn it all the way, and you'll see it's a bunch of questions. Obviously we're gonna be focused on whiskey, but we can stray. You can stray anywhere you want, right?
We could talk about whiskey. We could talk about rum. We could talk about gin, man. Whatever. I'm down. We can talk about. Let's just not get into Filipino politics just because.
No, we're not. We don't do any of that. In fact, and we don't even like talking about COVID, and shit like that. This is the time where we take a step back and let's just zone out or away from the shit that we have to go through every day, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, good. We're on the same page. Good. I'm glad.
All right, let's just get on to it. Okay.
Yeah, man.
So here we are, Crow Stock. This is episode number 11.
Ooh.
And we have with us our guest, Frank. Okay, Frank, you're going to have to help me here. How do you pronounce your surname?
It's the simplest thing, Shrope. That's it.
Okay, see, I have to be careful because we had another guest and I didn't even, I was murdering her surname. So I just want to make sure it comes from you. So it's Shrope.
Yep, that's it.
Wait, okay. Okay, you got to tell me, is that German? Is that...
Yes, it's German lineage. My father's ancestors came over the boat from Germany to the U.S. in 1752.
Wow. So a lot of history there, man. A lot of history.
A lot.
Okay. Well, John Joe, of course.
Many
he's the
years.
guy who hooked us up. We met each other thanks to John Joe, right? I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I know you've been busy. There's a lot of things going on. I mean, you know, now there's that whole rum thing. You know, there's all these spirits are coming out. But obviously, it all. I mean, the public. I mean, the whole lodge thing and everything started off with whiskey, right? So
Yeah. So the Whiskey Society.
how
sorry.
is that? Okay. So the society. So I mean, where did it all start?
It just started from people just wanting to just talk, just wanting a place to organize and just have people chat and learn more. That's all it was all about. It was never
Okay.
a professional thing in the beginning. It was just about, hey, look at my bottles, or hey, I'm thinking about buying this,
Right.
right?
Okay.
But I have
But you put up the group.
PH and
Yeah.
then Liquor PH as well.
Okay,
So,
because I don't know,
okay.
you have a lot of groups, right? But then
I have three things, right? I have the
Okay.
Whiskey Society of Manila, which is the community. Then I have my Whiskey Anonymous, which is just me and Leonard. And that's just that's just our platform, our page we use to do education, right? I mean, just to
Okay.
keep it separate from the society.
okay.
And then 2.5 years ago, we created Liquor PH or Liquor.ph. And that came about because, as whiskey, spirit guys, we wanted to get good stuff, but we got tired of, having to go to one store, one distributor. So like, well, if no one is just aggregating this stuff, because no one was at the time, other brand, another website.
What year are we talking about here, roughly?
That was 2017. There was another company. That was selling stuff, but it was more on the average stuff.
Okay.
It was the Johnny Walker Blacks of the world, the Jack Daniels. Not bad stuff, but I'm trying to get more.
You wanted to take it a different, you wanted to take it somewhere else. I mean,
I wanted the nicer things, not necessarily expensive, just something up here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where that came about. And because of me doing whiskey classes already with Raj and other
Right.
people,
Of course.
and even
yes.
doing podcasts, I already knew a lot of the importers and distributors. So I was
Okay.
like, all right, well, let's do this. Why not? So
Dude.
then I started professionalizing, myself in the whiskey industry, and I've never looked back. It's been hard, of course.
It's a grow. I mean, you learn every day, right? I mean, it's really overwhelming. I gotta show you this, Frank.
Okay.
This slide, right? And it's it blows my mind. But I love info. I'm a visual guy, right? I like looking at things visually, right? And when you see a web like this, and it's just whiskey, it'll drive you nuts, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your journey like? I mean, you have to tell us from the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
Where did it begin? And how did you get yourself hooked up with whiskey? Let's just use that one, that since we're talking about whiskey, there's so much to talk about in whiskey alone.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about your journey.
Okay. So, of course, as a teenager in the US, drinking whiskey illegally, of course, but let's not count that. All those times with Canadian Club and Jack Daniels, let's not go there. So it really dates back, I would say, in about 2009, 2010, when a mutual friend of Leonard, my business partner,
Right.
Leonard introduced this guy to single malts. To I think the first one was Glenmorangie, and the second whiskey was Glenlivet. 10, 11 years ago, there wasn't a lot going on back then with single malts. There was some, right? Not like what you have now. So literally, he goes, "Hey, Frank," German guy, this German thick accent with, smoker's voice. "Hey, Frank, you got to try this, yeah." I'm like, all right, sure. Fell in love. I swear within 2 weeks, I drank half his bottle of Glenmorangie. So it was just, Yeah, it just kept on.
But I mean, wasn't it like something, like when I first had my first IPA beer, right? I mean, of course, it's like really happy. You know what I mean? You're used to the commercial beers, the Bud Lights, the San Miguel's, the Coronas and all
Right.
that. And then here comes this guy, you gotta try this craft beer, right?
Yeah,
And of course, it's like, boom, it's just totally undefined based on, your former definition of what it should be. Was it like that for you?
It was. It was a little bit rough, because I'm not used to it, right? I mean, if I were gonna drink a whiskey, it was usually on the rocks or with Coke.
Okay.
So yeah, but I was like, you know what? Time to grow up, man. I'm becoming an adult. I was about to turn 30. I'm like, I was already smoking cigars, so I was like, all right, let's do this right. Let's do this. So
right.
And it just kept on going, and as I kept on drinking and I kept on meeting more people around the same age, give or take a few years, that were also getting on the journey.
Okay.
So
it helps. It helps when you have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It became a camaraderie. And then a friend of mine was in pretty much an all expat or almost all expat private whiskey club. I'm talking about 12, 15 people. So I got with that, and that's when the journey just went out of control, because guys would bring in whiskey, when they travel abroad, they'd bring in a few bottles. These guys were British, Australian, Kiwi, American, from all over. So we just kept on getting more and more stuff. And then luckily more stuff was being brought in. That's when I first had Cavalan 8 years ago, right? From Taiwan. It wasn't big back then, but now it's huge.
Right. I mean, you would have bought more bottles and invested in that shit. I mean, who would think that it'd be what it is today, right? I mean,
exactly.
But the thing is about whiskey, there are all these subcategories and the origins and all of that. So when you started your journey, you didn't even know. I mean, you had to learn, okay?
Right.
Irish, Scottish, American, the Asian bit, and then you have all these single malts, blends. I mean, where do you start, man? Do you just go for all the single malts and say, okay, I'm going to just go for all the single malts and try to learn, tasting and the palate? Or you just tried everything that anyone just said, hey, you got to try this?
Pretty much it was one of those things where, so this particular private whiskey club, everyone would take turns hosting, and then they would do a theme. So it was all right, you try this theme. Sometimes it was Scotch, sometimes it was peaty, and sometimes it was world. So I got just thrown in. But if someone were to ask me, Frank, what should I start off with? I always say this: if you have to go single malt, then start off with a Speyside or a Highlands. It's the one that's the most even in flavor. It's not going to necessarily blow you away. If you go straight for an Isla, which is a peated, smoky whiskey, that could, you either love peated whiskey or you hate it.
I'm going to talk more about that later, because it's I know what you're trying to say, right? And the thing, the different flavors is just, it's crazy, right?
All over the place.
Look, I mean, here, I don't know, you can agree with this or not, but, I found, this infographic that tries to dissect the different flavors of whiskey. You've got the Scottish, the Irish, the Canadian, the American, and this flavor wheel that just blows your mind. If you can get all of this in whiskey, right? Where do you begin? So like you're saying, okay, maybe the tamer stuff. If you're not used to, I'd like to use a parallel with beer.
Right.
Because, when we start off, you start off with a nice pale ale, a session ale. You don't want to freak anyone out with the double IPAs or the triple IPAs that are extremely hoppy. It's ripping your palate apart, right?
Exactly.
So in the case of whiskey, you don't want to go to the peat. Not just yet, right? Because I had my experience and it was bad, dude. I mean, I'm sure. I'm learning, right? And I haven't gotten there yet. That's one funky area that I'm not comfortable with yet. Is that a go-to for you? I mean, for that? I mean, you've developed your palate in such a way that you look for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have my favorites, of course, but for me, as someone that likes to look at more, I try everything and anything. Honestly, I don't hold back because I'm always trying to find what's out there, what's new, what's gonna surprise me, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, with whiskey, it's so all over the place. The amount of variables that go into create a whiskey in order to age a whiskey, nuts.
Yeah.
But
It's
if someone were to say, Frank, how do I start off? I would say, no holds barred, whatever. It's a bit boring, but I say start off with a good blended Scotch.
Okay.
It's the most even. It's the most, like palatable out of everything. And if you like the flavor, then you go from there. Because, some blended Scotches, say Chivas, there's a bit of peat smoke in there. So if that's a flavor you like, I'm like, all right, you like that?
Then you know where you're gonna go to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I try to take everyone like I'm a doctor in a sense, right? You try to figure out, all right, what's going on? Let's diagnose you.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, one thing I've done since being in the Philippines, though, I try to get more people into American whiskeys. Beyond, I mean, I like Jack Daniels. I love Jack Daniels. But, beyond that, the bourbons, the ryes, there's crazy stuff going on in there. Because with Scotch, right, you could only use barley if it's a single malt. But if it's a blended malt, that's barley that's either malted or not, or you could have a few other grains. With whiskey, man, you could use, with bourbon, it's mostly corn. You could add rye. You could have wheat. You could have quinoa. You could have millet. American whiskey gets kind of crazy.
So, it's funny because it's like the whole craft beer thing.
Yes.
Because, every single year, the guys in the competition, they're having a hard time with craft beer because there's all this sub. They don't know where to put them anymore because they don't follow the same rules.
Yeah.
So I guess, is that happening in American whiskey?
It is. And now there's American single malts. Now, you got to remember, bourbon or straight bourbon as a definition is regulated by the government. But American single malts, they might have an association, but there is no rules. So things are getting a bit more cavalier in that category even.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a bit, and because American whiskey in general is a bit more cavalier than Scotches, you could have it, you could be a bit younger. You could play with the word whiskey because it doesn't have to follow the same rules as using the word bourbon or straight bourbon. Yeah, that's why if you actually look at what's going on, there's so many different American whiskeys, just like there's so many craft beers happening in the U.S. right now. It's that same thing. All these smaller players coming about, and just like craft beer, it's being eaten up by a lot of the big boys.
Oh yeah, that's been happening a lot now. Yeah, a lot of these guys are starting to swallow up all these craft breweries and craft distilleries. So yeah, so the whole craft revolution is there. It's alive and well. I mean, of course, the situation now, but it's an exception. But so you're saying that you're going to be looking at new variants coming through the woodwork.
Oh yeah, it's not going to stop well. Let's see now with the current world situation, but if the trend keeps on going, no, it's not going to stop. It really isn't. And it's going to push some of the big guys to try different things, which is a good thing.
Every company wants to be able to stand out. That's why you have local berries and fruits from, regions or countries. And that's how they make their craft products stand out, whether it's spirits or beers.
Exactly right.
And here's another thing, food pairing. Is it like wine? Wine has a very huge food pairing thing. does whiskey have a space in that? I mean, I saw this thing, you gotta have it with this, gotta have it with that. Is that something being strict in the whiskey circles?
Not at all. Actually, so some people go fancy, right?
Right.
I know I helped host a couple dinners for Glenfiddich. They were doing like lechon pairing with their whiskeys, and that was nice. Like the fatty part, the skin and fat, and the meaty, and how it pairs with this particular one. That's nice. I love what they did. But you see, I saw people doing, friends of mine doing flavored donuts and whiskey pairings.
Mhm.
Like using a maple donut, man. I was like, all right,
that sounds like beer. We have a beer that comes out later in the year, which we pair with a donut, right? Because it makes sense, right? But it does. It works, right? But yeah, I've never heard of whiskey being paired with a donut, man. That's pretty far out.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And you see all these craft donuts now, right? There are all these crazy things going on.
Mhm.
So like, all right, and I've seen it where just a huge 10 or 15 different whiskeys and donuts paired with each other. Like, they want a whole donut, but it'd be pieces.
Right.
So that's going. I mean, I've seen ice creams, like different flavors. Or for me, whiskey should always be fun. You could be a bit snooty about it, but
No, I think there is snobbery there. There's always snobbery in gin.
Caviar and Grey Poupon.
There's always some snobbery there. But so what you're saying to me, Frank, is that whiskey is best served on its own. It may be your favorite cigar, or if you don't smoke, but it's best served on its own and not try to overthink a food pair with that.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, you gotta enjoy it on its own, right? It's like having a good steak. You can put all the flavor you want, but if the steak is bad, no matter what you put on there, it's still gonna be a bad steak. For me, I prefer it neat, or maybe if it's a hot day or I just want to switch things up, I'll put it with an ice cube or an ice ball.
Yeah.
I admit on occasion I'll do a highball.
Okay.
Right, just to mix it up, or just to troll people. Oh, you should be mixing some $100 scotch with a soda water. Oh yeah, watch me. Boom.
Oh shit. Okay, I gotta ask you.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. What was your first whiskey experience?
Yes. 16 years old. Went in my buddy's brother's bedroom, and he had a mini fridge in there, and he had a handle, so 1.75 of Jim Beam White.
Jim Beam White. Okay.
Yeah, standard Jim Beam. It was, here, try some. I'm like, of course I knew what whiskey was. I knew what Jim Beam was. I'm like, all right, sure. Took it. Just take a big old swig. Feel the burn. Just burning down my chest. I'm like, now I know why the Native Americans call this fire water.
John Joe said that before, exactly. What do you call them? But then, so it was not your dad or any uncle that really, turned you on to this. You're out there watching the elders get together and drink their favorite poison.
No.
So it had nothing to do with them. So this is something. Okay.
Yeah, my dad, he wasn't much of a drinker. He would drink an occasional beer, and the Bud Lights or Budweisers or whatever. So it wasn't. Yeah. So yeah, no, drinking just kind of came from me wanting to have a good time.
Yes. Yeah. It's usually you want to get shit faced, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one. What do you call these expert whiskey guys? Are they connoisseurs, sommeliers, guru? Do you have a term for these guys?
Not
Somebody like
really.
you, maybe.
Not really, honestly. I mean, some people say connoisseur, whiskey expert. Even if you talk to the smartest whiskey guys, which, of course, you've met, and they try to separate themselves. Anyone that calls themselves a sommelier, a whiskey sommelier, they're making it up because there is no such thing. There is a guy.
There's no license that you get, blam, and then
You
step
could.
aside. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you could technically. I mean, there's guys trying to put out stuff, but there's no official thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this guy on the internet. Yeah, I'm on his Facebook group too. He wears this whiskey sommelier chain. He made it up. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
That's all BS then, huh?
yeah, and he sells the marketing for it and everything. Like he has a school. I mean, if you watch his videos, they're entertaining because these guys are being ridiculous. So, but yeah.
But is there such thing as whiskey university? I mean, there's so much to learn for whiskey alone. Like that graph that I just showed you, that infographic. It's crazy comprehensive.
Yeah,
right?
so you could actually in Scotland, and I think places in the major universities in the U.S. they do teach distilling, the science of distilling. So if you wanted to go that route and become a master distiller, a master or a blender, yes, you could actually take formal education.
Right, but not for the tasting bit or the sommelier things. Somebody who knows years or distilleries from around the world and all that crap.
That's kind of strange though, because I used to attend talks, paid talks they're like master tasters. I believe Johnny Walker did one before, and then they flew over the guy. So he's part, I guess, the marketing team, but they labeled him like a master taster, like a master.
It's all for marketing, man.
Yeah, it's basically masturbating the brand, letting people. And when you're done with the program, you get a certificate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're stroking the people there. I mean, if he's a master taster, what he probably is, he's probably part of the blending team.
Okay.
And that stuff is crazy. I've met the master blender for Chivas Regal, Colin Scott. He was beans a couple years ago. I think he's in his 60s. Nice guy, but I mean, these guys are not allowed to eat spicy food. They don't smoke. I mean, all the fun stuff in the world, man. They don't do.
Dude, I was gonna talk to you about that. I was gonna talk to you about smoking and tasting. What I mean? There is, like even for the food guys, right?
Yeah.
They're saying, and that if the guy heavily smokes, you can't trust his palate. Do you believe that?
Well, I would say
you smoke heavy cigars, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. I smoke heavy cigars, so I'm not gonna be like, not as much as before because I don't, have a part.
That's probably why you go for the peaty stuff, because you can't taste shit anymore.
I mean, but here's the thing: if you're trying to find those small, nuanced flavors, are you really drinking it to enjoy it at that point, or are you just trying to? I don't know. I mean, what are you trying to prove? I mean, yes, I do like to get flavors, but I'm not going to try to find 20 flavor notes in the nose. That's not me. I'll find maybe 3, 4, maybe 5. Just sit there, with one of my nosing glasses and just sit there and just think, maybe put on some rock music or whatever, By the way, a lot of authors do that. Dominic Roscoe, one of the biggest whiskey authors, yeah, he'll put on rock music. Dave Broom will put on rock music.
Yeah, that's their way.
Yeah, they'll put the whiskey out there, put music on, come back, see if there's anything else. But these guys are authors, right?
Yeah, I guess the thing is, John Joe, like you were saying about Johnny Walker and all that. When these guys start coming into the room and they're called master this, master that, they use the title loosely, right? I think they come in there and you're a buyer, you're interested, and it just really, how do you say that? You get overwhelmed and you just believe in whatever this guy's saying, like an evangelist, right?
Yeah.
So hook, line, and sinker, buddy.
Yeah, a lot of these guys start off somewhere, sometimes they're just bartenders, and this happens a lot. And hey, I bartended for a little bit. I know bartenders, good friends of mine. But they're not necessarily whiskey experts, but they'll go and they'll hire a bartender to say, hey, they're just a talking, just a talking piece. And that's okay, because it gets people excited. But to call them a whiskey expert,
That's
I
another
would.
story.
Yeah, they're nice people though.
Yeah. But here's another question.
Yeah.
Okay, this thing, I feel there's a lot of truth into it. I just want to know your opinion. Labels, man. Labels. Sometimes they get on the way, right? I mean, I think so. I mean, there are other, I mean, like you're saying, there's so many different whiskeys out there. Maybe those who don't have much history, but they're good stuff, man. They're good stuff. So the thing is, here's the question.
Yeah.
Do labels affect a lot of the impressions of whiskey?
No, what do you mean by label? I just want to
The label itself.
Label itself, the label.
distillery.
The appearance.
Yeah, appearance, yeah. Because, you know, we're talking about the liquid in the glass at the end of the day. So, but sometimes, you know, the age, the distillery, the country it's from, all of that, you know, that's put on there. How much of that takes an influence to the actual drinker?
I would say for the casual drinker, it does affect a lot. Because these people, these casual drinkers, they're not getting super geeky into it.
Mm.
Okay.
They're impressionable by the branding.
Exactly. You know, I mean, there's some, I don't have one here around me, but there's some will put like a number on there. The number doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I think there is a bourbon called, available in the Philippines. That's actually a good bourbon. I have nothing against it. It's actually a very decent sub 1,000 peso bourbon called Benchmark 8.
Okay.
But because when people see an 8, a lot of times they start thinking already age, even though age has nothing to do with it. So
Okay.
I've seen this with gins. They'll put a label.
Oh, there you go. Thank you,
Yeah.
Iken. Benchmark 8, old number 8. So a lot of people think that the number has to do with the age.
It's funny
Yeah,
though, because it looks like Jack Daniel's old number 7.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like those perfume bottles, dude. The perfume Chanel number 5.
Yeah. It's those love potions.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
It's solid though, man. You could buy that in the US in a 1 liter in a plastic bottle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's funny,
yeah.
right?
So I mean, okay, so you've had a whiskey that was bottled in a very simple way with totally obscure distillery, but it really gave and left an impression with you.
Yeah, so there's this one, and maybe John Joe could bring it up. I think Rowan's Creek, Rowan''S, Rowan's Creek. If you look at the label, it's nothing special, but it's a delicious bourbon. Right? I mean, look at this thing. It looks like
God. And you
right?
can't get it simpler than that, man.
It's got that parchment rustic from a old ship type of label.
Yeah, like someone's doing moonshine in their backyard.
Dude, I'm telling you, it looks like someone's 5-year-old
Yeah,
with the label.
children's handwriting. But
I
that's
mean,
cool,
right? But Frank, you like this? You like it?
It's
I mean,
delicious.
it's a good whiskey.
Yeah, it's a delicious American whiskey. So I'm okay with that.
Because, the thing is, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people, with the social media, they like to show off their bottles, right? I got this, I got that. The more expensive, the more unique, things like that. Oh, I'm opening this now, opening that now, things like that. But I don't see much of these, like that Greek thing that you're talking about, right? So is it in the culture of people to just, want to up the other guy?
Depends on the price point, right? Those
Right.
are those are about a $20 whiskey. Yeah, once you get into the $1,000, $500 type of bottles, yeah, then no matter what whiskey, whether it's American or Scotch, those bottles are going to be extra nice.
Okay, so let me ask you, what is the single most influential aspect in raising the price of a bottle? Is it A, an award, B, because it's really good, or there's some gurus talk about it and they're really good at marketing? Or, well, you tell me.
I would say, and just via proof alone, getting either some type of an award or having like a whiskey like author write about saying this is a top whiskey out there. So that's what happened with Japanese whiskey in the early 2010s. That's what happened with Cavalan. Jim Murray, friend of mine, Whiskey Bible. He wrote good things, and it all started flying out the shelf. Sullivan's Cove out of Australia. Small distillery, got a top world whiskey award. Now their whiskeys have tripled and quadrupled in price, if you could even find it.
That's the thing you have these influencers. Go ahead, John.
The fourth point is the rarity.
Yes.
Rarity of whiskey is also important, because the older it is, the less stock. If the company doesn't exist anymore, then the price really goes up.
That does help.
Which leads me to my next question, right? This thing is, let's see. Here we go. Aging versus NAS. Frank.
Yes.
Okay. So, I've been reading a lot and I've been listening to all these gurus talk about this, right? You've got two schools. Obviously, the issue is the rarity of the whiskey, because, they're running out.
Yep.
The longer, we all know that the longer it stays in the barrel, you lose out on angel share, and of course the demand, and of course that when you know something is limited, you have that, you look for that, right? It's something that it's not going to be around for long, so you go for it. Now you have the aging bit. And then you have the NAS, which is not very, it's quite young, right? NAS whiskeys, they haven't been there for too long.
Okay, so let's take it back a little bit. The reason why there's even an age statement on there, because before they put a year, 1946, whatever, right? Almost like a born on date. Then for single malts, Glenfiddich, I want to say maybe 61, 62, something like that. Maybe my Glenfiddich friends will kill me if I say the wrong one. Anyways, they're the one put a, Glenfiddich 12 year. They were the first ones, and it just flew off the shelf. So it was marketing. That's the whole reason it came about. Now, the whole reason why NAS is coming about, because you're running out of age stocks. So marketing has come a way to push the stuff that they're not going to put an age statement on. So it's marketing again. Does age mean quality? Not necessarily.
Interesting point. That's an interesting point. A lot of people think it does, Frank. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to really wring your neck for saying that.
I hope you try to.
The thing is, a lot of people have this notion that age means quality. Why do they have such a notion that age in a barrel means quality?
It's just that's what's been pushed for 50 odd years. So it's, trying to change that mindset is going to take, another 50 years, right? That's the thing.
So in a blind test, for example, an NAS, okay, if you put some gurus in front of you, you've got some let's put them all as single malt. Okay. Yeah. Some are 25 years, some are, and some are NAS. Do you believe that some of these guys couldn't tell the difference?
I think so. Depending, obviously, I would say on the experience of the whiskey drinker.
Okay.
I could taste some things that are young because they tend to be a bit bright. They kind of pop on the tongue too early. Versus something with a bit of age, say a 25-year-old, say Talisker or a Macallan. It really is so easy. It just coats the tongue beautifully. But that's a well-done whiskey. I've had single malts that say, it's 18 year, and it doesn't taste that good. It just tastes like it was put in bad barrels.
It's or because this another thing that I've heard is that sometimes they put them on in the barrels for a long time because the distillate was already bad in the beginning. So like you said earlier, when when you have a bad steak, no matter what you do, it's a bad steak, right? So if you have a bad distillate and you stick it in a barrel, hoping that the barrel does the magic to the whiskey for a number of years, it's still going to be a bad whiskey.
Exactly. If you don't have a proper master distiller that could create a good beginning product, then, it's not going to help. Even if you try to do wine barrel finishes, which is like, you say you're taking sherry, a Pedro Jimenez or whatever, as maybe you could even Sauternes, whatever various wines and put it in there. Sometimes it comes out beautifully. I've had Amarone, comes out amazing, but I've had other whiskeys. I won't say their names, I don't want to bash anyone, but I try to be fair, but it was just, you taste it like, this is not that good. It just happens.
Right. Right.
What?
Interesting. Let's move on. I've got another question here for you. Okay. So, your thoughts on peated whiskey. So I know we delved in it a little bit, but what were these guys trying to do with the peat? I mean, it's different from smoke, right? It's two different things, right? Or is it one and the same?
It's one. When it comes to Scotch, it's one and the same.
Okay. So explain what it is and why was this a signature for Scotch?
All right. So what peat is, it's pretty much earth. It's plant, just degraded plant over, hundreds, thousands of years or whatever. So it's a type of fuel. Even though it looks like dirt, it's pretty much all wood. Like former.
Can we look at how peat looks like, Iken? I just want to show the viewers what it looks like. The thing is, look at that. It's like it looks like cow shit. You know what I mean? Look at that. It looks like cow dung, man. But you're like you're saying. So it's layers upon layers of bio whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And so they cut it out of a cliff or something, and they make bricks out of them.
Yeah, they make bricks out of them, and then they use it to burn. So, okay, how you make whiskey, not the whole process, just in the beginning.
Right.
You take a grain, barley, you wet it down, and you let it germinate.
Yeah.
Now, when you let it germinate, right, that's when all the sugars come out.
Correct.
But afterwards, you don't take it wet. You have to dry it. So what they did prior to, the 20th century was they used heat to dry out the grain in the floors. So you would automatically get smoke. Now, of course, the smoke will infuse into the grain as it's drying. So that's how you get the peat flavor inside whiskey. You actually infuse it into the wet grain as it's drying.
So it's an accident of what they wanted to do in the first place, which was to dry the damn grain.
Right. That's it.
If they were going to use, I don't know what kind of tree, then it's a whole different story. So there you go. You see what's that, a kiln or something, and then that's how they dry up the grain. So they stick in all the peat.
Yeah, they put a big oven, and So that's the thing, though. You got to remember, there's also different kinds of peat. There's Isla peat, which has that medicinal flavors, like your Lagavulin, right?
Right.
Very medicinal. Tastes like iodine or Band-Aid. Band-Aid.
I think I had that one whiskey. Is it Lafroig or something? Shit, man! I still gotta learn how to drink that.
Yeah, it could be a bit rough if you're not ready. Yeah.
Wow, it's that one. That's it. It's just talk about funk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one funky whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so medicinal. Like, whoa, it's not just smoky, it's medicinal, right?
Do you like it?
I I enjoy it. I wouldn't say they're my favorites.
Right.
I'm not gonna.
But you won't have them. You won't have them all the time. I mean,
No.
you have to have the. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be in the mood. Sometimes I'll make it into a cocktail, a sugar-free cocktail or something. But for me, I look at something heavily peated, like your Lagavulin, like your Lafroig, as a colder, time type of drink. You're in front of a fire, fireplace, maybe camping in the woods. And the Philippines isn't cold enough all the time. So
I actually wanted to bring that up also with the whiskey drinking and weather.
Yeah. I mean, the Philippines is not very ideal unless you're in Baguio or Tagaytay.
Yeah, if you're in an air condition, it's not so bad. If you're on the beach, I wouldn't necessarily, I know people that have done it, but I wouldn't necessarily bring out a big Lafroig or Lagavulin on the beach. It just doesn't seem like a beach whiskey. I would go with something lighter. Maybe I love Irish whiskeys, maybe a Jameson or a whatever, right? Bushmills or what, because Irish whiskeys tend to be a bit lighter because it's triple distilled and all that. So I would.
Our director's favorite whiskey, man.
Because of the branding.
I have some downstairs in my place, man. It's actually not bad. Some people hate on it.
Yeah, a lot of people hate it.
But this guy has sold tons of this stuff all because of his persona. I mean, really, Kevin McGregor. Wow.
Dude, it's pretty.
Kevin McGregor, Conor McGregor. Kevin. I just killed his name, Kevin. Conor McGregor.
I'm pretty sure it's just younger Bushmills.
So what is this? A blend? I think a proper 12. Is that a blend?
12. Yeah. Well, most Irish whiskeys are blends, anyways, unless it says single malt.
Yeah.
And I could be mistaken, but if I remember right, Proper 12 is made by the company that owns Bushmills Irish whiskey. So it's pretty much Bushmills to
rebranded
Conor McGregor's specifications.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, well, let's move on. Here we go. Glassware. Is that something that's really, really makes a difference with your whiskey experience?
So that's funny that you mentioned glassware, because technically I have two different glasses in front of me, not what you guys are probably thinking.
Yeah, because the other day somebody posted it in the Facebook group posting his review about the two glasses that he had, and they look oddly similar.
Yeah. So it's all about how how it's shaped, how it gets pinched in, right? So I have a Glencairn downstairs, but right now I just have my sherry glass that I use. And then I just got this recently from a friend. This is called a 1920s blender's glass. Now
it reminds me of a bulb of opium. Look at it, dude. Put it near the camera, dude. I'm telling you, it looks like opium poppy right there. Right?
I'll take a closer look at an opium poppy.
Oh, there. Look.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm telling you, man. You find your inspiration from nature.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. Will it change your palate? Not really. Will it change your nose? Yes. Because every little shape will change the experience. This will concentrate a lot of the flavors right up here. So you don't need to do much. And actually, so this is called a blender's glass. This is actually made in the 1920s for wine blenders, for whiskey blenders. When whiskey blenders use this, they will water down their whiskey to 20% ABV.
Okay.
And so they get all the nuances. Because right now at 40 or 45, the alcohol will give off a bit of that black pepper or white pepper, and it'll block the other nuances.
Okay.
So, for people trying to get flavors, yes, the different shapes make a difference. This is a sherry glass I've used before, my own little branding on there.
Right, nice.
Same thing, I'll use it. I can nose whiskey all day. Can you use a rocks glass, your normal whiskey glass? Yes. For me, I'll take it and I'll.
But if you won't get the same experience, it would be an eye opener for someone who, let's say, tried that glass.
Oh yeah, you'll take it like, whoa, like they're getting all kinds of flavors they've never had before versus a rocks glass. So yes, it can, but it depends on what experience you're trying to get. If you're just trying to enjoy whiskey, drink out of whatever. Drink however you want it. But if you're trying to nose it and get the subtle flavors, then yes, the various.
No, because we're getting the same thing in the craft beer world, right, John Joe? John Joe, we've got all kinds of glassware coming out of the woodwork, man.
I mean, every kind of beer has its own glass in
exactly.
beer, right?
Yeah. But the IPAs and whatnot, they also have their own, different glasses, right? But that's interesting. Good to know. Okay, here. What is the cheapest whiskey you've ever enjoyed?
Wow.
Put you in the spot, man.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? It's not all about price, dude. No. Right? So, name me one really cheap-ass whiskey that you can say, you know what? This is good stuff.
I'm not sure how much. Yes, my girlfriend's on the side, and she's chiming in there, and yeah, I would agree. A cheap Scotch that is very enjoyable, and I would say even we'll go on a younger whiskey, like go against a lot of them, would be a Ballantine's Finest.
Can you look that up? Okay, we're gotta check this out, John Joe.
It's not that expensive.
No, that's right. So now we're on a budget with all this shit going on.
I know they've gone up in price since, but yeah, you're like 1,000 pesos, maybe 900, 800 if you could find it.
That's not exactly cheap. I was talking about sub 1,000, or there's nothing.
Vanilla wine is usually a little bit more expensive. So, the delivery charge. Now, it was cheaper before. Now, things have changed. Andy, players are right.
Holy shit, $200, man.
I wouldn't drink it. Honestly, it's not for me.
What about John Lee? That's the one I enjoy.
Oh, you know what? The John Lee, that American bourbon, I know why you also enjoy it.
I like Jack.
Yeah, I bought that years ago. It is delicious.
John Lee, I haven't heard, man.
And he has a manly beard, so that's why I bought it.
Yeah, dude, it looks like you, John Joe. Zoom in.
Yeah, and you can get it.
Shit.
All your finest Ralph's liquors.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Kentucky bourbon.
I did. Before they were like, oh, try thing. Like, well, not really the same thing, but I mean, it was decent. It's decent.
650 pesos. Jim
and
Beam.
What ABV is that? What ABV
40.
is John Lee?
40.
Hey, dude.
Solid.
Solid, right?
Yeah.
So bang for your buck.
You know what was good, but they already discontinued it, but it was super cheap. It was like 500 or 450. Was White Horse.
White Horse?
Yeah, White Horse whiskey. It was.
Is that local? No.
No, it was. They say it was made by Diageo, and it had a lot of like Lagavulin.
Oh, I remember that bottle. Yes. Yeah. Okay. White Horse.
Yeah, it was a solid 500, like $10, 500 peso whiskey, man. It was solid.
See, it's good to know these things, right? Everybody always goes for the top shelf ones, right? But, you want to start out, you got to learn even the cheap guys, right?
Oh, sure, man. I mean,
and some people don't give horse in the mouth because sometimes you give someone a gift and they'll be like, oh, it's not top shelf. It's still good whiskey. You're still gonna drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna appreciate those type of bottles, especially during the like bottles I've had that were given to me. I started tasting and drinking whatever alcohol I have here.
Okay, let's move on. Frank, what are your thoughts on whiskey competitions? Do they make a statement? Do you follow these things? Is this something you look forward to every year? Are there any competitions out there that really stand out?
So my thoughts on whiskey competitions, some are legit, some of them I question.
Okay, what would you consider as legit as opposed to, sponsored, so to speak?
The San Francisco Spirits, which you know well.
Yeah.
That is probably, it's one of the largest out there and probably one of the most legit because of how they conduct it. Even if it's not a money-making
blind tasting, man. Blind tasting. Numbers.
Exactly.
You're a number. I mean, when I read about this, I said to myself, hell, whatever happens, happens, right? Let's throw our shit in there and let's see what happens. Dude, they're all in glasses and you're just a number. There's no labels. There's no nothing. You put your product into the category that's described and you're judged accordingly. So I mean, that's it.
Yeah, it's double blind too. So it's not right. Like someone pours it, gives it to someone else. That person then puts on they don't even know. So
they don't know.
That one right there. Yeah, that's the one. If someone wins that one, then yes, that's pretty good. Otherwise, I don't want to say the names, but there's another.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. But there are others that. What happens? I mean, it's the same people that keep winning.
Yeah,
it's like
all of a sudden, it's
questionable stuff.
So many times, like, how does one distillery take half the awards every year?
Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's awesome. San Francisco.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, that made us, we really proud of that, silver medal out there. That
You guys have a good product in your gin. I mean, that's, of course.
So interesting. Okay, now moving on.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. Oh, I talked about that. Here's one thing I wanted to ask you. Cocktails in whiskey. Is that something that, you would do and a lot of people who are whiskey aficionados would do? Stick their whiskey in a cocktail?
You see a bit of snobbery on some people, but honestly, I do enjoy a good cocktail, but I'm a classic cocktail kind of guy. I like my old fashions. I don't like these, sugary frou-frou. I don't want none of that.
It's like a frappuccino.
Yeah, man. It really is. My whole thing when it comes to a cocktail, it has to be spirit forward. What's the use of drinking a cocktail if I can't have a little bit of the alcohol in there?
And then they price it like as if they're, they price it crazy, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to hit on all these guys who are very artistic and creative, mixologists and whatnot. But I think we're just talking about whiskey here.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, Frank, you're better off doing something more basic in a cocktail with whiskey than, it's a pricey spirit.
Yeah. Exactly. And you want to be able to taste it, right? So, but I mean, you could do great stuff and different things with classic cocktails. Just take an old fashioned, which is, bitters, sugar, maybe a little bit of soda water, maybe, and of course, whiskey. Mm-hmm. Well, bitters, you could do so much with bitters, right? There's different types of bitters. You got your Angostura, your typical. You got your Orleans. I mean, you got, Peychaud's, you got chocolate, you got orange. So right there. And then if you want to just, instead of just bitters, you can also add in, say, like an orange liqueur or a chili liqueur. And, just a little bit. And it just brings out the experience even more. So keep it classic, but have fun with it.
Okay. Now that we're in the topic of cocktails, you know where I'm getting at, John Joe, right? Okay, so we've got we've got two schools of thought from where cocktail, the word, comes from, right? In fact, we've had two guests that were on the show, and both had very different and distinct, theories. Okay, so one goes this way, that the word is actually French. It's the container, where you break the egg. It's called a cocotois or something. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So somehow it's the jigger that the bartender uses looks like a cocotois or some. So they mispronounce the word to turn out to be cocktail from the French word. So that's one school of thought. The second is that cocktail was basically the act of cocking the tail of a horse up, because you want to liven up the horse, and you stick a piece of ginger up the ass, so you cock up the tail. So, okay, I gotta ask you, which one do you feel would be the right one? Unless you have a third theory, Frank.
I was just reading about something. It had something to do with, I can't remember anymore. But it was.
Dude, you know what my theory was? My theory was the damn cock's tail was used to garnish the drink, and so I thought.
I've heard that.
There you go. So, John Joe, my theory is one of those valid ones, right?
Yeah.
But so I thought it was that, and it was right? So apparently the elders have spoken, and there are these two theories: cocking the tail of a horse or the jigger. What do you think?
I mean, I've heard the jigger. I've heard them all, right? And I've read more. I don't think we'll ever freaking know, honestly. And then it was just one of those.
It's one of those mysteries. It will always be discussed in drinking.
No, because you know what I mean? Where the hell does the word cocktail come from, right? I mean, it's a valid question, right? But okay, so are you going to take a stab on which one? Because we have an ongoing poll on this.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of like the cocktail in the garnish. I actually kind of like that one.
We'll give you a point for that one.
Okay, that's a point for me. All right. That's good. That's good. Okay, well, we're gonna go into a segment now, Frank. This is for more fun.
Okay.
It's called This or That, right? So basically, you're gonna see two pictures, and you're just gonna basically pick this or that. Okay? You can't pick both. You just have to pick one. Okay? So this is brought to you by, obviously, our single malt, our silver medal single malt Crow's Craft whiskey. So here we go. This or that, Frank?
Oh, this. I like that, but I like this better.
Really? Okay. So what do you got? John Joe. John Joe's got it both.
I have both tattooed, but recent years more for that, because I like the output of that more than this.
What do you mean by output, John Joe?
I think they made more.
And the programs. Star Trek has gotten better. Star Wars, because of the last films. Well, except for The Mandalorian.
Do you think that Star Wars was like The Godfather, when the more they had, the more it just crashed and burned, right?
Well, we'll see, because there's The Mandalorian, so I'm hoping it will save everything. But the movies, I really did not like the last three movies.
Okay, the last three, yeah. But you know what? I know a lot of people hate on the prequels, but I'll tell you, those fight scenes,
solid,
amazing, right? Yeah. You cannot, but like, wow. So,
yeah.
So I even have a 1977 Stormtrooper helmet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay, Frank, this or that. So I guess you were discussing, right? I mean, there's a rock glass, or what do you call this other glass?
Glencairn.
Okay, there you go.
It's not called a sniffer. It's not the.
No. It's not like a brandy snifter. It's called that particular one right there is a Glencairn. It's the official Scotch whiskey glass.
Okay.
And I do prefer a Glencairn, so I prefer this.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. I guess I know what you're gonna say, but anyway, I want you to say it. This or that.
Actually, you know what? I'm drinking a little bit of Jack Daniel's rye tonight. So I'm going with Jack Daniel's.
Good on you, man. Okay. This or that.
As much as I like that, I've always been a Superman guy.
Okay.
All day long. I mean, I love Batman. I love Superman. So, yeah.
So, Janjo, this or that.
Batman comics right there.
Yeah.
Those are all graphic novels. Batman.
Yeah,
Batman took over.
fan.
DC's for Marvel's for boys.
Okay. And last one. This or that. A Monte Cristo or a Cohiba?
Woo! But you know what? I do still have a Monte Cristo #2 waiting for me for another special occasion. So yeah, definitely a this.
Wow, interesting. That's another thing, Sometimes I think this whole Cohiba thing is just all the marketing and that it was taboo. I think that's what really caught on. I mean, am I right?
Yeah, I would say the whole thing with the embargo really created, a market of awe for Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
I will tell you though, man, you could get some amazing Dominican, Costa Rican, whatever cigars, and they're half the price of a Cuban. So I do these New World cigars all day long, and they're amazing.
We had a guest, a local cigar manufacturer, the Tabacaria. Have you tried any of their cigars?
Oh, I love them.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, of course.
Roman,
man.
Roman.
Love Roman. Great guy. His last 2 concerts I went to, he was there.
Well, there it is, man. Frank, it's been an hour. It went by this quick.
Yeah,
really thank you for joining us in Crow's Talk. And I'm sure a lot of people are entertained and learned a lot about whiskey. I mean, what can you say to the newbies out there who are just starting out their journey? And, what should they look forward to and how to make the journey much easier?
Don't be afraid of cocktails, first off. There's so many different things out there. If there's something you don't like, keep on trying.
Okay.
That's the key. There is.
At the end of the day, it's really, if you like it, there's no problem there. If
Exactly.
you like it, and just
Don't be
keep
afraid.
looking.
Don't be intimidated to try something new.
Yeah,
When-
I mean, there's a lot of intimidation. That's the word, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they you don't know whether your friends are gonna, talk shit about the kind of whiskey you drink or whatnot.
Join a social media group, such as the Whiskey Society. For us, we're anti-snob. We try to help people on their journey. Don't be afraid to ask the stupid, the noob, or whatever, newbie questions, whatever you want to call them. Don't be afraid. People are willing to help out.
And you've grown. I mean, your group has grown. So you've got, a lot of the guys who are starting their journey there too, right? I mean, you're not just accepting experts, are you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, before we go, there's 2 types of experts. There are, and because you go on a journey, we're all going up, right? Same path. But then as you go higher, a lot of times you become a snob. You're snobbery. But then you reach to a certain point and you're like, all right, I will keep on going with the snobbery and look down on everybody, that drink cheaper stuff, or I'll accept everybody as you're going on your journey, and it doesn't matter what price there is.
Right.
The real brand ambassadors for whiskey, the real experts, take this other path. The other path that I have went on. I know other people that went on the other path, and I'm no longer friends with them for whatever reason or another. And I just wish they would look at this other, because this is the path of maturity.
Yeah. Okay.
So look at, if you're a newbie, look for those real mature people that know it's not about price, it's about the quality that you ingest. And that's
Makes
another
sense.
thing I want to say is we're ingesting something in our system. Don't go after the cheap stuff, meaning cheap quality, not price. When you say cheap, quality.
Yeah, quality. Because it can be dangerous, man.
Exactly. If it's too good to be true out there, it probably is fake. And unfortunately, there's, especially with the nicer stuff, the Macallans, 18s, there's a lot of fakes out there. And I've caught a lot of fakes for people and disappointed a lot of friends. You see the label, it's not right. You see the seals, they're not right.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a good point, man. Be careful.
When you buy stuff, try to buy from legit companies. I know right now there's a lot of fly-by-night companies popping up left and right on social media.
There are a lot.
At liquor.ph, we only deal with the importers now. We don't deal with, middle guys. And so when I see these, and we started legit, we pay our taxes. We do everything by the book.
Okay.
And these guys, because they're trying to compete with guys like me or other big company, or we're not even a big company, I have like 6 people, but they're trying to compete and they're doing it on price and they're just selling whatever they can get. And it's sad.
Yes.
What's 100 pesos for your health?
Exactly.
Right?
Makes sense. There you go. Wow. There you go. Thanks, Iken. Here's an example, right? I mean, you spot the fake. Yeah. Spot the fake.
Well, the Jack Daniels ones, you can tell the way it's squared out, the bottles. We were being sold some before, and you can really tell if you're a Jack drinker, you'll be able to write the weight.
Yeah, you could taste it. But, I say always go to your legit dealers. But unfortunately, a lot of bars, because they're all trying to save $50, $100, pesos, 50, 100 pesos, they'll buy whatever. They don't really care that it's fake. And so just always be aware no matter where you are. I'm not talking about just the Philippines. I'm talking about anywhere in the world. Costa Rica. I hear Bali's having a hard time with fake liquor at bars.
Yeah.
Like, don't even drink cocktails in Bali. This is what I've been hearing.
Wow. That bad, huh? That bad.
So
that's why, I mean, groups like yours, you can help, right? Why not ask? Just ask.
Yeah. People ask all the time, and people never get to, in our group,
Look at
no one
that.
gets tired of it. Even we're 8,100 plus members.
So which is the fake there? I guess the one that's really nice on the right or the one on the left?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the left.
The one on the left. Yeah.
These are one has stripes.
One has stripes, one has, okay, there you go. So yeah, you just have to be careful, man.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's my biggest thing out there. Just be careful. Talk to your whiskey experts or your friends out there that are willing to help. Join a good group. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
We're all in this for fun. We're not here to take it so serious. Anyone that takes it serious, then find someone else.
Exactly. And with that, thank you, Frank. Thank you for your time, buddy. And I'm going to see you soon. Hopefully, when this whole thing blows over, we'll get some nice whiskey,
Nice whiskey,
right? Let's enjoy it.
Cigar.
Exactly.
Yes. All right,
Cheers,
guys.
buddy. Cheers.
Bye-bye.